What's up, Wes?
What is going on, man? How you been?
Good.
Saw some beautiful pictures of you over the weekend.
Yeah, me
You up?
personally, thank
Well,
you.
you were in them.
Oh man, it was amazing. I went up to Sedona, and that was like it's my third trip up there in like 2 months. So I've just been hitting it up, just going every 2 or 3 weeks. And this time, I took my son up there Saturday, and it snowed. We went through Jerome. You've been to Jerome?
Yeah.
Yeah, we went through there, and that's when it started snowing. So it wasn't like we could walk around because it was snowing pretty good. But we went to the haunted hamburger restaurant there, which is they have some good stuff there. Stopped in there, ate lunch, and then head on up to Sedona. And it was snowing pretty good on the way up there Saturday afternoon. So yeah, it snowed all Saturday night. And so Sunday morning we went and hiked uh, um, Devil's Bridge Trail,
Mm-hmm.
and it was amazing, man. It was an amazing morning. I mean, it's always beautiful up there, but that having snow, and it was just like the perfect amount, just like a couple inches on everything, just snow covered, like dust, dusted
Yeah,
in
like a
most
dusting.
places. It was really pretty. So um, yeah, it was amazing. So that was it. I've just been getting out and enjoying just, you know, it's been a crazy year, obviously. And the whole COVID thing has stopped us from traveling as a family. It's, threw a wrench in some of our plans several times. It's like, so now I'm just trying to, even if I only can get away for a day or two, trying to get out in nature and get out of the house, or out of the business. I'm just super busy right now too. So I'm running out of time in the day. So I got a lot going on. So
Yeah.
and like every day I run out of time. I'm like, oh, I didn't get this done, or I needed to get this done. I have a lot going on with different businesses and just hustling, man. Hustling, training a lot. Trained last week. That was probably the hardest I've trained since I returned back in September, October from my injury. So, I've been ramping it up, but also conservative at times. But I went and trained more this last week, and I had a lot of hard rolls, and I felt really good. So I was just going hard. I was pushing it. So my knee's a little bit sore. Then I went and hiked, uh, you know, Devil's Bridge. So I was, especially in the ice, I had good shoes on, but I'm like,
Yeah.
every step I was making sure you know,
Had some
what,
good footing.
yeah, had to have good footing because I was like, oh man, I don't want to screw up my knee anymore. So, and today, I didn't train and I said I was going to rest, but then I've been up and down a ladder in my house all day long doing work on the walls and stuff. And so I'm just like, I got to give my knee a break. It's kind of sore. So, but we'll see.
Nice, man. Well, we
Yeah.
got a dusting of snow around here too. So
I
we
could
got
say that.
yeah we got quite a dusting.
Yeah. Like
So
a
we
heavy dusting,
yeah
a
heavy
dump.
dusting. Yeah.
How many inches
So
did you get?
here at my house we're I think we were right around 18 inches.
Damn. Just over like a day or
Yeah.
two, a couple
Oh
days.
yeah, it was during the first this they were talking about this storm, and it was like at first it was like it's gonna roll in Friday, and then they kind of pushed it back. It's gonna be Friday night, and then it was just they kept bumping it back a little bit, and then Saturday comes, and it starts snowing a little bit, and then it starts coming down a little bit more, and I'm like, I don't know. This doesn't seem like snowpocalyptic
Mm-hmm.
type snow. Went to bed, woke up the next morning, and
Deep.
it had really it had really kicked it up. So it was deep, and it was super heavy.
Yeah.
Really wet snow. So spent all Sunday digging out, helping some other people dig out. I'm still not fully. I've got a path to this office. Front walkways are done. But other than that, it really is. It's just trenches.
Wow.
So hoping it melts off here pretty quick.
That's crazy.
So yeah, we got a little dusting.
March snow.
Yeah, March.
It's Colorado for you.
It is, man. They say that around here that March is the snowiest month of the year. So
Oh, really?
yeah, they kind of lived up to it. I got some neighbors that they do a lot of, they go and do a bunch of like backcountry stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So he's looking to get out this weekend.
Nice.
So
I
yeah,
would love that. If I was in Colorado, I'd be getting out in the woods, I think, a lot. It's so beautiful.
yeah, it is pretty beautiful.
I like doing hikes and stuff as cross training. It's one of my favorite things to do if I can get out. Just push yourself out there, and because you can get a great workout in.
Oh yeah,
depending on the trail,
yep.
And I just think it's good because you're always trying to stabilize everything. And,
yeah, stay moving.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. It's great.
It is a real neat, and from a recovery standpoint, it is a good recovery recovery day kind of workout. You know,
it's like active recovery type.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I had a busy week. So that was part of it. I trained 4 times, Jiu Jitsu, 3 strength training, and climbed a mountain. So put in some work.
That's a lot.
And on top of working my jobs and stuff. So here we are.
Nice.
That's something we could talk about though, is, I got to thinking all that training, and for me, that's a lot. For someone else, maybe not so, and it's a topic we wanted to discuss at some point on the podcast, so we could talk about it today. But it's like, what, you have to develop when you're doing all these things, doing jiu-jitsu, cross training into something else, whether it's strength training or whatever you do. You're hiking, you're out doing exercises, you're a runner as well. It's like you have to find a good balance between all of these, all of your interests, really,
Mm-hmm.
and have a healthy relationship with training, especially jiu-jitsu, because even me, like, I had been going pretty consistently, like 3 classes a week, and I do a study outside of the gym throughout the week, but in terms of roles and stuff, last week I went 4 mornings, 4 classes, and trained pretty hard in all those classes. And it's like, when you do that, you get on this roll, like I'm on this roll where I feel really good out there and feeling really technical, and everything's coming together. It's just one of those times for me. And I want to keep going like every day. So I'm having to start thinking, okay, what do I have to pull back on here versus, it's like, if I start going to jiu-jitsu, let's say 4 times a week, I'm going to have to maybe lessen on the strength training. You know what I mean? So typically average, I'm doing maybe 3 days of each every week. So out of 7 days, I usually do three strength training workouts and 3 jiu-jitsu. That's what I've been doing for the last few months. Going more jiu-jitsu, I feel like I want to do that now, but it's like something's got to give, because for me, I just know my own body and stuff, and I have to be able to do all of these other things, or do them all in conjunction with one another without tearing my body up or getting burned out, or, basically that's it. Right now it's me, my knee's a little sore. So it's like, okay, this week I'm going to have to at least pull back a little bit, maybe take some easier rolls. I'll take some rolls off, or is what I meant. Have easier rolling days, stuff like that. So, but that's just me, I was talking in class, to a couple of the guys the other day, and it's like, I train with this younger guy, and he's a white belt, but he's pretty much a blue belt. He should be a blue belt. He's really good, he's way better than a white belt. So he's tough. He's a tough roll, So, and you know why though? Because he goes all the time. you know, and I'm sitting here telling everybody, I'm like, yeah, I went 4 times this week, you know, and this kid's like, I asked him the other day and I was like, how much you train? He's like, nah, probably like 2 or 3 times a day. And I'm like, whoa, that's like, damn, dude. You know, it was like for a
Yeah.
split second there, I didn't think he was going to say a week because I knew he trained a lot, but I'm like, Jesus, 3 times a day. And he does, you know, and it's like, even our coach, Josh, he was telling, his name's Jacob, but he's telling him, man, don't get burned out. And it's like, if you don't get burned out, you're going to get really good really quick,
Yeah.
you know? So, and that's what he's progressing pretty quickly, you know? I mean, he's still got a lot. You got to
Yeah.
put in the time, you know,
Yeah.
to get technical and all that. But, you know, it's not just some new guy, you know, some new white belt, you know, if I'm not mistaken, he's got 3 or 4 stripes. He's been training a while, but he's rolling really good, you know,
Nice.
puts up a good challenge for guys. So my point is having that, you know, having a healthy relationship with jiu-jitsu, that's kind of on the other spectrum, you know, it's like, maybe not on the other spectrum, but here you have a younger guy. He's full of piss and vinegar in my mind. You know, he just wants to get every class he can. And I appreciate that. I wish I could do that at this point.
Yeah.
You know, I wish my body
Yeah.
could hold up. More power to him, you know, but, you know, how long can you sustain that going forward? And you know, you're talking, it's going to be age dependent, goal driven, you know, are you a competitor? You know, we talked about a friend we had who's extremely competitive, always in it to compete, maybe losing a little bit of the fun, taking a little bit of the fun out of the everyday roles because you're so focused. So I think that's a good thing we can just chat about today, is just having a healthy relationship in terms of your training. And it's going to be very self-specific, but maybe we can talk about a couple different instances, and, you know, people can relate to whether it's the guy that trains too much and he's training competitions, or the guy that's a white belt that wants to learn everything and he's just go, 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 go.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you know, to put it another piece of the context together for the listeners, I had a conversation with somebody that I know, or I guess both of us know, and we got into a conversation talking about. We were just talking kind of general jiu-jitsu stuff, and we're in different places now, in different ways. He is a pretty new black belt, and I asked him, you know, just what's your experience being a black belt, and he started off, he's saying it took a lot of pressure off of him, and he was so focused on competition, and he was so focused on just competing all the time. And I kind of thought about that because he and I had trained quite a bit together, and I was like, man, I don't know that there's a competition that this guy didn't do. Like, I can't remember him ever taking a competition off.
yeah.
He was doing the Masters Cups. He did all the majors. He did all the local stuff. He traveled. He did the whole like Southern California circuit. I can't remember any competition that he didn't do, and that was just his focus. That was all he was training to do.
Right.
And he said, well, it took a lot of the pressure off. If I don't get to do Masters Worlds this year at black belt, I'm going to get to do Masters Worlds next year at black belt. Mm-hmm. He was very concerned with, well, I only get X amount of cracks at Masters Worlds or pans at purple belt, or I only get this many cracks at these competitions at blue belt. And now he's like, I get infinite number of cracks
because he's a black belt now.
At black belt. And he followed kind of that stuff up with doesn't matter how he doesn't really matter how he rolls. It's so much less pressure of getting tapped. And then on top of that, he was, you know, he kind of told me, he was like, you know, you have always had a better, healthier relationship with jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. And he was like, you would come in, you'd train hard for competition, and then when it was done, you'd go back to training for fun. And it almost kind of felt like he didn't feel like he had trained so much for fun during the colored belt phases.
Right.
And so I guess it got me reflecting a little bit of, I mean, I've had fun in jiu-jitsu and I've felt pretty good about the competitions and stuff. And I would say he's pretty accurate. I'd go in, I'd train hard for competitions, the stuff that I'm going to do. And then it was right back to either having fun or I'm trying to develop something or both. And, so it got me thinking, what is a healthy relationship with jiu-jitsu? And I think that's a largely, it's a personal, it's a personal thing, because for me, I was so focused on, at that time I was in school and that had its own academic rigor that was associated. So I was just happy to be training 3 or 4 days a week and training hard at like a school with a lot of competitors and getting great training. And then I would do some local stuff every now and again, and then I'd do Masters Worlds. And that for me was a healthy relationship and still is. Like my business stuff is my big focus right now and developing that. And, and then I'll probably do 1 or 2 of the majors this year and probably call it good. Nothing super crazy, but I just don't have the time to dedicate to full-time anything else because, I mean, at the end of the day, I know where I am in jiu-jitsu and I like to train hard. I can be a tough role for people, but I'm not a world beater by any means. So
it's all in what you're doing it for and why you're training and what your purpose is and why you're even competing. I'm more I'm like you, I do jiu-jitsu just to train on the daily, and learn a skill set and someday be a well-rounded black belt. I could care, if it takes me forever to do that, I'd rather be in a position where for me, it's not like tournament success. Some people, they hang their whole hat on their advancement by tournament success. For me, that's not what it is. It's great to challenge yourself, and that does mean something. Those are the people that are putting it on the line. Putting themselves out there, and if you do good in tournaments, you can do it. That's what it's about, right? Mm-hmm. But you're still showing skill in the gym. You're having hard rolls. It's just what do you want out of it? For me, I just have to have a healthy balance between training and my health. I do it because it helps keep me healthy, number one. But if you're training too much, I'm 46 years old, so I don't have the same RPMs as some people, and I don't have the same capacity to do the heavier work.
Yeah.
And I feel I'm in some of the best shape of my life. Don't get me wrong, but the body sometimes says otherwise in terms of soreness and being worn out. So for me and for you as well, it's not that extreme tournament focus like our friend that we have in common that you're talking about. That person probably, every time they went into most of their training sessions, it was very dialed in, very competition specific, at least in that person's mind. That's the difference here, is that's why it's almost so, it's so self-specific. So there's literally thousands of different instances here. We could talk to everyone that have a unique situation and a unique balance and relationship with jiu-jitsu. Is it our friend that, he felt like he, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it sounds like he said, maybe I didn't have some of the fun that you were having. That could also be the gym dependent on the vibe. Yeah. Right. I mean, I personally know some of those times he was coming up, that person, he was in he would train in the class that had mostly competitors. So there probably wasn't as much Definitely not at times. There wasn't as much, hey, let's just shoot the shit. Let's take this round off. Let's hang out. Let's go through the moves. That can be completely different for everyone, maybe you're rolling 2-3 times hard rolls. Maybe you roll 4 or 5 times and you're done rolling for the day. And then the next 2 or 3 rounds, you're just chilling with your buddy. You're going through moves. Hey, is this, you're shitting the shit on the mats. Maybe they didn't have that because he was going to competition based classes where it was like, there's no time for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's boom, boom, boom. We're doing this. And you're probably just leaving afterwards because you're so exhausted. So again, though, that's going to be specific to the person, specific to the gym environment. Some people's whole training experience is nothing but that. Maybe they're at a higher level, very competitive gym. And that's like, you might have like a certain class, maybe the 6 p.m. class at your gym is the most competitive one. That's where all the competitors are. That's going to be a different vibe, and you're going to have a different experience than going to another class that might not be like that, right? Or maybe an intro class. So totally different across the board. But I think you just have to, for the listeners, you have to kind of like, and everyone's going to experience this, right? Everyone experiences this, is if you keep training for a certain amount of time, you have to develop that relationship with how much can I train? And that could be how much can my body take? How much can my mental take? But it can also be how much am I willing to not train? Because that's a big thing too. Because, and what I mean by that is I know people that only pop into the gym maybe once or twice a week. Maybe you don't see them a week. Maybe you see them again in a couple weeks, So there are people that train like that. So for me, maybe those people are like, they're trying to hold on,
Yeah.
I in some ways, I want to do jiu-jitsu, but I just can't. And that's okay. Like, but they have to be accepting of that. And maybe that's their comfort zone. Most of the time, though, we're going to be talking about people that are on the other end of the spectrum where they want to train all the time. Whether it's the young kid that I told you about that's training 2-3 times a week every day, boom, 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 boom. What's his goal? I don't know. It'd be a good question for me to ask him, Or you just, and probably he just wants to get better faster, I mean, that's what it is. It's like, or it could just be, I'm loving it. My body can handle it. I'm young. I'm putting in the work. I'm learning so much. Like, I love that. I wish I started at his age, and I could.
Yeah, no kidding.
I had that opportunity to push it like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think to your point, and to kind of go back and rehash kind of what you said, and things change, like not just with age, but you come in, which for me, I can only speak from my experience. That is, for me, that is healthy. Like I have a competition, I have a focus, I have a drive, and then I train for that, and then I go back into more of like this is just fun. This is just something that I do. For me, not, training once a week or not training at all, that to me is also an unhealthy relationship. Like I have to have more of that. Yeah. Me training 5 days, me personally, me training, I would train 5 days a week, but all my training days would not look the same.
Right.
5 days a week at training for a competition, that is also unhealthy physically. And it's emotionally taxing too, because everything that I go through, I'm thinking about weight. I'm like thinking about strategy and game plan. I'm like, in my training shifts, like I know you and I both do this. One of the things for the listeners at our gym is when people start competing a lot and competition season kind of comes up, one of the things that we kind of that'll become normal is lots of situational drills, but then also where you're tracking points in your head with your partner who's, you're up by 2. You've got a minute left. You're up by 2. Top person on top needs to hang on. You're in top side control. You need to hang on. Person on bottom needs to, recover or get a sweep or whatever. So then you automatically start tracking points, and then every training scenario becomes very geared into that. And that to me is like, if I'm doing that 5 days a week, that also for me is unhealthy. I can't maintain that.
Yeah.
So I think for me, that's my balance of like, okay, I know that I can only handle this much at this intensity, and I have to maximize it. And then I have to like go back to, I have to go back to just having fun.
Yeah.
Cause it should be like, if it's not fun, then why the hell are we all doing this at the end of the day?
Some people might think that gold means more than having fun.
It's
it's
true.
Yeah,
it is true.
Definitely true. I mean, if you're going to be competitive like our friend and who won Master Worlds,
he did.
So he, you said it best. You're mental. You have to be. Imagine competing that much. And I have other friends that are prolific competitors. I've went on 2-3 year runs where they're competing every month like that.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about the mental. You're just got to be dialed in on the competition scene and everything about competition. Strategy, who you're going against, the preparation, the weight cut, the training. There's really not a lot of time to stick in fun time,
Yeah.
Even on open mats, you're going to an open mat, you think it's going to be more laid back now. Not when you're in that competition mode, because time is money in a way. It's like, your time is worth something when you're training for a competition. You're just trying to dial it all in. So that's a big part of it, so you have to, I guess, but I think you just develop that. I mean, if you've been in it for a couple of years and you're already super gung ho about competing every single tournament that comes up, that's your personality. That's what you want to do. Yeah. That's your path, Now you're just going to have to discover your own best way to manage all of that, all the different, the extra pressure. Because there's a lot,
and the physical
toll,
the physical
as well.
part of it as well,
and competitions and the way they take a toll on you physically.
Yeah,
the actual matches themselves.
Yes, yeah, they're a grind,
intense.
Yeah,
they're always
it's
intense.
A fight.
Yeah,
it's a fight. People are showing up and they're not holding back. It's not in the gym. You're not fighting your training partner.
Yeah.
In the gym where you're not trying to finish, or you're not trying to finish that hard.
Yeah, exactly. I've only ever competed, like I started competing after I was 40. Okay. So think about that. And I'll be completely honest. Every competition, I'm down, like for 4 or 5 days, my body's fucked up. So, that's why it's hard. Like I would schedule, like one year I did nationals, and then maybe it was a month later, it was Master
Was
World.
This the year the elbow one?
No,
the nationals?
This is like
no.
before that.
Okay. I gotcha.
The one summer I competed where I was like 2 weeks later, I did like 2 weeks after. I'm like, and I kind of learned, even though I wanted to do that, having it, I felt good about competition. The first one was nationals, and I went to do like a local one 2 or 3 weeks later. And I just remember after nationals, it was seriously, it was like, cause I just had 2 super hard fights, and it was like the hardest I ever had to fight. Like it was crazy, it was like that amped up. So I just remember being so sore for, I don't even remember what the little injuries, they weren't injuries, but they were, it was hardcore. Like I was, oh my God, I can't even train. I couldn't get back into the gym for a few days. So that's also something you have to consider when you're older, is like that recovery time is way different.
Yeah.
Like I know younger guys, they will and have competed every week of 1 month, like 4 tournaments, guys that travel and do that type of stuff. Like, it's, but for me, I was always having to be like, okay, I have to, after every competition, there's a little bit of downtime to recoup my body. Then I have to start training again if I have another competition. So you're going to have to figure those things out as well. That's another huge pressure if you're competing, is finding a balance with your, you know, having that healthy relationship with your jujitsu and what you're doing out there, whether if it's competition, but also the competition takes a toll, and you got to balance injuries, and that's just so, it's just so much. So it does
It
make
is.
sense that our friend would say that,
Yeah.
that's a lot to go through. It really is. I mean, it's a completely different experience in jujitsu. More power to the person, and I,
Yeah.
I
His,
crazy.
yeah, his competition results are impressive. I mean,
Oh, he's super good.
he's super talented. And I always respected him for that work and the way he developed. And I mean, he was just, I mean, honestly, he was just a horse. He's just a horse of a human. And I mean,
Yeah.
he's, in general,
Yeah, he's
but
a beast.
then seeing him come up in the competition scene, super impressive.
Yeah.
And so it really, for him to kind of share that with me, about just having healthy
Yeah.
jujitsu relationships, or healthy jujitsu relationship, I was kind of blown away. I was kind of shocked that,
Yeah.
it was almost like he had felt like when he got his black belt that his relationship became so much healthier, because it was just the pressure was gone.
Yeah.
So, and I thought that was
It's
pretty interesting.
but it's just the pressure he put on himself,
Yeah.
So that's all it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got some insight into somebody else's psyche.
Yeah.
Really. On the flip side of that, let's talk about the other extreme. I have a friend that been training with us for a few years. He throughout COVID, he runs his own business. He has to be there. It's a serious, like, legitimate business where he's the person people go and see. Okay, so his whole thing is, first of all, COVID came, so he had to be very careful with that type of guy. Like if he got sick or whatever, he can't be away from his business. He's just gotta keep it together. Blue belt guy, studied a lot. Like the last couple of years, he would work on moves with me. I know he was studying outside the gym. Maybe not a lot, but he would come in and, hey, I watched this Danaher video or whatever, and he's talking to me about that. So pretty well engaged. COVID comes and he stops training. As a lot of people just stopped for a few months anyway, just because we didn't know what was going on. The gym starts coming back. He texted me a couple of times, hey, you going back yet? And I told him I was injured. And finally I went back, and going back and forth. And he called me a couple of times. And the last time he called me was a few months ago. And I picked up his call and I talked to him for a while. And he's asking me, how's it been? He hadn't been in the gym for months. Okay. So he had just been like, I don't know. He was like, I think he was kind of looking for some guidance or some kind of like an ear, just somebody to listen to him, because it was like, I think he was like struggling with his own relationship with jujitsu, and to be honest, maybe he had a little bit of the blue belt blues.
Mm-hmm.
So, but why I say that is because, and I'm not going to mention his name, but because it was a personal, I mean, obviously I'm talking about it here, but it was a personal conversation. But basically he was just, part of it was like jujitsu's tough. He had been injured a couple times. We all have to fight through that, right? That's always going to weigh. If you're wondering if you should keep training jujitsu, that's one of the top reasons why people stopped training.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know several people have stopped training because of that.
Yeah.
So being injured, you know, so because you know, as well as I do, it's just the emotional and mental toll it takes when you get an injury. And whether it's, I love jiu-jitsu and I got to get back, it's tough to be off the mats, or this is really fucking up my outside life. You know, I busted up my shoulder. I can't do my job now. Like, and I can understand that as well. I have my own business. When I busted my knee up, that was not fun. Like trying to, when you can't walk, I have to go to work and walk and do somehow get through this. And so every day is a mental grind on just trying. I didn't have the opportunity to stay home for a couple of weeks and at least get better to where I could walk. You know, I think I took one day where I had someone work for me where I literally couldn't walk. And it was like, okay, I'm going to be getting around slow for the next couple months, you know? So for this person, I believe it was somewhat of an injury he had. Long story short, he's telling me on the phone, and he does mention, you know, I'm kind of having like this struggle within myself to whether I want to keep training. And he just came out and said that to me, which no one's ever said that to me before. Like, you know, I obviously know people that stopped training, but I was just kind of blown away also because I just know he's the type, like, he seems when he's in class, he's engaged and he really likes it, you know, and he is enjoying it. But maybe just that time away from being away with COVID, and it's like, can I really get back in there and do this? I know he had an injury that was lasting months at you know, the pain. So I had this long discussion. I didn't really know. All I could say was, I mean, my advice to him was when we got off the phone was, look, you're going to have to do some soul searching, which you're already doing, you know? But you need to have jiu-jitsu. And this is a couple months ago when I said this, but exactly what I said, you need to have a healthy relationship with jiu-jitsu. So you have to figure out what that is. If it's coming less, if it's training lighter, you know, what do you want to get out of it? Right. But I ended the conversation saying, even if you leave now, you know, jiu-jitsu is always going to be there for you. And that was really my message, because I could tell he was kind of struggling to accept, you know, he's kind of like, he was really on the fence about what he should do, you know. And we talked about this in Blue Belt Blues and maybe a couple other episodes where we might have felt like this as we were a blue belt as well. It's like, you know, I can't remember a lot of specific times, but there were a couple of times where I'm just like, oh my God. And it was at white belt for me, but I'm like, geez, can I go on with this? You know, it's like, sometimes you just you're the nail so much, you know, and you're just getting so slammed all the time. This guy though, that wasn't necessarily it for him. Because he's a bigger dude and he had good skill. It wasn't like he was getting smashed or all that, you know. He's a blue belt I think he had a stripe on his belt. So long story short, we get off the phone. I just say, hey, if you need to talk, let me know. I hope to see you back sometime, but you know, if not, you can always come back to it down the road, you know, because you know, the guy's relatively young. It's like, you could come back you know, and I even said, I was like, dude, you can come back in 10 years and still, that you're going to be in a different mindset at that time. Mm-hmm. So don't just count it out forever. I think that's important for people to know, you know. Maybe at this point in time of your life, it's not right for you, no matter who you are. Or maybe it is. It's the perfect time. But it's always going to be there, you know. And it's funny, I've seen a couple people come back recently. One guy, I really haven't even met him yet, but I kind of overheard his story this last week. He came in, I think he had 4 stripes on his belt, hadn't trained in a long time. Like the gi he had on from our gym was like many years ago version. Like I could tell like this guy's old school, but he's not the only one. There's like people coming back now because jiu-jitsu's really, it's blowing up. So these people see it again and they probably realize, hey, that was a good time of my life. For whatever reason, I fell out of it. You know, I stopped going, whether it's at white belt, blue belt. Another friend of mine was a brown belt, and he moved away from us in GD, and he just posted on his Facebook the other day, he got his gi out and stuff. He hasn't trained in like 3 years, you know? And it's like, okay, where's this going? You know? So I see people, so you always got to know, like, even if you leave for a while, it's going to be there for you. And in the case of my blue belt friend that called me, I was happy to see maybe a week or so ago he came in. So it was like I got a huge smile on my face. You know, it been a couple months, but he came in. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, we rolled together, and it was like nothing was said. But at the end of the roll, he just said he didn't even ask me a question or anything. He just said, I just had to do some soul searching, and that was it. And we like slapped hands and said thanks for the roll, you know. And it was pretty powerful. So I'm hoping to keep seeing him back. But you know, you get these. That's what we're talking about today, is like having that relationship with jiu-jitsu where this shit ain't easy. Okay. This shit ain't easy to do.
It's not.
So it is so not easy. We take it, we don't even realize because we do it and we're in deep, but this is a hard fucking thing to do on the daily.
Really hard.
Week in, week out, week in, week out. It's a mental grind. It's a physical grind. You have mixed emotions. You have to mix the training with your personal lives. It's crazy, and it's a lot to juggle, and it's not normal. It's not what other people. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
and you know, I heard this thing a while back. It's probably cheesy. It probably goes around the internet, but it kind of the stuff you were saying reminded me of it, and it was something to the effect of, at the end of it all, like by the time you get your black belt, it's not who's better at jiu-jitsu, it's just who's left.
Yeah.
Because and that couldn't be that's
totally
exactly
true.
how it is.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's who's left at the end of it. And you know, I've been through several iterations of blue belt blues. And it has presented itself in different ways. I know, like, there was a point at blue belt where I was just like, I had like knee supports on both knees, and like I was just hobbled, and I would get out of the training room and I would look at myself, I'd have a black eye or something. Why am I doing this? Like, seriously, like I'm wearing two knee sleeves. I've got like, I'm constantly getting black eyes and this and that. And, you know, for a while when you're new and you're starting to get into it and you compete a couple of times and you become really, you know, some people become really energized by that and they are competing all the time, or some people are just energized by jiu-jitsu and they want to train as much as they can. But a lot of that stuff goes away at some point or another.
Yeah. And
you have to actually know why. You have to dig deep. Why am I doing this? Yeah. And I know, you know, for me, a lot of it's for my mental health. I don't like, you know, I'll do some light kettlebell stuff and like, you know, some cardio stuff. I don't enjoy it the way that I do.
No.
Jiu-jitsu.
It's fun.
It's fun. It's skills development. It's character development. You know.
You know what a big part of it is? I don't think we talk about it enough, and it's probably the number one thing why people love it so much is the socialization of it. I mean, honestly, because where else are you going, or you and I going, where we're socializing like that, and you become friends, and you see your friends every day? Yeah, that's like 100% true. People that spend time on the mats, you see those people more than your family sometimes. Yeah, you know, like I have a lot of friends that don't do jiu-jitsu, and all my jiu-jitsu friends, that's who I see because I'm there every day. Like I'm there all the time, and so are they. Yeah. So that's a powerful thing, and I know that's why some people try to hang on. I even know people that train occasionally, but I know they like that part of it. Maybe they don't want to do the grind. We've had people leave the gym where they really like the social aspect of it, but they don't want to do the grind. But that is the draw. That's a big part of it, and that's exactly what you're saying. That's why it's so fun, is you have that connection. You make these connections with people. Yeah. There's no better way to learn, you know?
No, there's not. And at the end of it all, whatever that it is for the individual, when all the, you know, all of the peripheral stuff goes away and it becomes like this shit is sucking right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that I'm going to be going back like the individual that called you, like
Yeah.
I'm soul searching. That has to be it.
Yeah.
Like, is this my why worth continuing on?
Exactly.
That really is it. Is this worth it?
Yeah.
And for me, the answer is always yes. Like,
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu is worth it. For other people, it's not, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay to, if you don't want to go through the grind, maybe maybe if you're at a gym that kind of has a little bit of a higher grind rate than some of the other ones, maybe if you want it to be, then maybe find a place that is a little bit more that speed,
Yeah.
or that's going to allow you to do that with, in a judgment-free zone, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Finding a place that'll kind of allow that to happen while still maintaining it. But that's what it has to, it gets hard.
Yeah.
It gets really hard. And I've like I said, I've been through several iterations of,
Yeah.
dude,
But it's easier for you now, I think, to kind of wrap this one up. It's like, once you do this for this many years, you can better understand your relationship needs, the relationship between you and jiu-jitsu. I mean, right. You're saying that you've went through those iterations. Most of those are earlier in your career.
Yeah, for sure.
From me talking to you and knowing what your journey is. And you've been through some ups and downs. You moved away from, you had to leave your gym. I mean, just tons of stuff, but you were mature enough in your jiu-jitsu journey that you can manage those curveballs,
Yeah.
And that's why most people that make it past, to purple belt and beyond, you're going to have a good, maybe not the healthiest relationship, but you're going to understand how to tailor your relationship to best suit your journey. Right.
Yeah.
It's the white belt and the blue belt. Those are the people that are struggling with these things a lot of the times. Even though your friend, our friend was a black belt, that was a different kind of pressure he put on. But I'm talking about, again, we're talking about, let's go back to why most people quit.
Yeah.
Before purple belt, because it's hard as fuck.
Yeah.
It's a grind. It's slow pay. It's slow progression for the most part. Unless you're one of these guys like my friend that can train 2-3 times a day, probably going to progress a little bit faster. But it's having that maturity in your relationship to know, this is good for me or this is bad. So that takes some time,
Yeah.
We're going to have different struggles, you and I, than someone else. If your gym is full with maybe lower belts, a higher belt's can have a different experience. I can say this from experience, is like, it's way more fun now because I'm better and I'm good.
Yeah.
Way more fun that I'm good.
Yeah.
So you have to, it's different for me. So I'm managing different things, and mostly about my bodily injuries and how I can, it's not, for me, it's not like a mental juggle at all. I do jiu-jitsu every day because at this point in my career, I can go in and hang with anyone, at least give people tough roles if people are better than me, or at least, know what to stay out of and have some skill and give people a good role. I mean, that's really what it's about. I mean, there's guys that can come in and just wipe the floor with me, but I can also do that with other people, So it's like, you have to find, when you're a higher belt, I'm brown belt. So I've been doing this for over 8 years. For me, it's fun. It's managing at my age, it's really just managing my body and how much I can train. Because I love to train and I love teaching people. I love the back and forth. For me personally, if I'm going to step outside my comfort zone, it's competition. I'm very comfortable in the gym. I can talk with people. I've taught some classes. Like I love all that. For me personally, taking it to the next level would be a competition to do. But I'm never going to be I shouldn't say never. At this point where I'm at, I'm not the every month competitor.
Yeah.
Now, but you always have to think though. My situation could change in 2 years, 3 years. Maybe I free up a lot of I get some more free time. I have more people working for me, or I don't have, let's say I didn't have my businesses and I was in a different situation. Maybe I would totally get into competition and I'd be competing a lot more.
Yep.
It's never like a set thing.
No, that's what I was saying. It changes.
Yes, it always changes throughout you have to be able to ride those waves.
Yeah.
Of the momentum, of personal growth, the downtime, the times when you feel like you're not learning much. A lot harder at the white and blue belts because you're not understanding a lot of the jiu-jitsu in general, but also you're having to manage all of these emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's what we all do on the road to black, It really is. I mean,
it really is.
That's everyone's journey. And it, I'm sure it's like that in other sports too, but at jiu-jitsu especially, we become addicted to it. It's a very social game that we play. You want to spend time with the people you're training with, you're happy if you're in a good environment, that's what it's about, I mean, you become friends with, obviously it's a great community that way. We talked about that last week, but man, it's always, you got to always manage that. You got to manage it. So I'm fortunate now. I'm in a super good mental spot with it. Like I've never felt better learning and teaching and knowing technique. And I feel like I can really pull stuff's coming to me much faster on the mats.
Yeah.
But I've been putting in a lot of work and stuff. Not a lot. I shouldn't say that. I'm so busy. I actually recently, I'm like, I haven't done in the last month or so I shouldn't say any. I look at a lot of Instagram videos. I have a whole system of like saving stuff it's not that I'm not doing that, but for me at this point, I want to get to a point where I'm studying maybe an hour or two a week just on putting together programming for myself.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's programming for myself. The problem is we all know, for a guy like me, if I'm going 3-4 classes a week, that's very limited time. You can install these things into your game. So I have to try to find that balance where I can go as much as I can without getting too sore or too beat up. And for me, and I know a lot of our listeners are masters age people, 30s, 40s, same thing. If you're getting up there in age and you're feeling that, I know because I own Chill Fit Cryo and I have a lot of guys my age using cryotherapy to hold it together and keep their bodies right. That's all you can do is find that balance. For me, if I'm going to start going maybe one extra time a week, maybe every day won't be intense rolls.
Yep. That's,
and I don't mind saying that either. Like, so I'll tell guys at this point in my class, if you want to roll, let's flow. Let's work on some technique. In my mind, we don't do enough flow. Like, I think it's always good to do a lot of flow rolling. If you look at these high level guys like Gordon Ryan, these guys are always flowing. If you notice that when they're training, and especially all the leg lock guys, Craig Jones, like if you ever watch their rolls, it's a lot of technique flow, so you can learn a lot from that. Older guys, don't go out there and just try to smash. And it's just, it's not sustainable.
Dude, I've talked about this before on so many, a bunch of times, man. Training, like load management and training, like it can't be all 100% all the time. And it's hard even for the pros, man. I'm like, so Joel Jamieson is one of the guys I've done work with him, and his structure, the way he does like Mighty Mouse Johnson's, all his strength and conditioning, all that stuff. He has different classifications of days.
Yeah.
Where he'll have like a really heavy day early in the week, a really heavy day late in the week, and those are the only 2 days. These are for pros. The only 2 days that they're doing actual heavy sparring. 2 days a week. 2 days a week, Mighty Mouse Johnson was doing heavy sparring. That is it.
Yeah.
And that dude was the guy for a long time.
Yeah.
So what is he doing is he's doing these other things. He's doing high intensity drilling.
Yeah.
He's doing stuff like that to manage his training loads so that he's healthy for the long duration. It's not that he's not getting skills work in.
Yeah.
He's getting lots of skills work. It's just he's taking the intensity
Yeah.
down a little bit to manage it throughout the whole week. And it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to tell somebody.
Yeah.
So if you're an older guy, they don't have to all be killer training days.
But those are fun.
They are. They are.
There's been a lot of times where I'm like, let's start slow, let's flow, and this shit don't work. It gets intense and it's fun, and it is what it is. It's the fun of jiu-jitsu. Let's save that topic let's save that idea for another episode. Talk about load management in one of these upcoming episodes. We can both talk about that. You have a ton of experience. That's what you do, is basically program that type of stuff for people. We all have to find that, especially, if you're starting out. I see a lot of people, white and blue belts, you're only in it for a little bit. You got to find that. You got to find what works for you. And it's going to take a few years to do that. And you're always molding. You're always riding that wave. Just be open to change, You got to be open to change and be smart about it. It's all about the long game, It's you want to be here. That I literally look at it that way now, and it goes everything from tapping to a heel hook to training too much in a week. It's like, for me, it's on my mind. If I don't want to wreck my knee, it's much more, I'll give up my pride. I'll tap early and tap often so that I can train another day. That is, now if you're in competition mode, like our friend, that wasn't going to be the case. Yeah. So you have to figure that out. What's best for you. That was a good topic, man. Let's wrap it up with that. Next week we are going to announce our first guest, which is exciting.
Yes, sir.
We'll have a guest in a couple
exciting.
weeks. Hoping to have somebody pop on here once a month, give you guys a little bit of different viewpoint from everyone from white belts to black, coaches, competitors, a little bit of everything, because that's what the Road to Black is about. We want to talk about people's experience on their way to black belt, whether they're there already or not. You guys can look forward to that.
I think people are going to like our first guest.
Yeah. I like him.
So he's a great guy.
That's it, man. Let's, if you guys would, we could really use, if you guys are enjoying the show, go give us a review, follow us on social media, YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, definitely review our podcast. We won't hold it against you if it's just an average review, but give us a 5-star review. For sure. I'm going to say something. So real quick. We got Paul, I don't know if you saw it, we got our first comment on YouTube this last week from Spain. So if that's you, thank you so much. I appreciate definitely. We'll keep up the good work, but thank you for the comment. First comment. And what a big deal. And we will up in the world. We are. So we've been on YouTube only for not very long, so it was I was pretty excited about that. Hey, well, we're only getting better. We just been doing episode 23. Here we go. All right, Wes, anything else? I got nothing. All right, guys, have a safe week training, and we will see you next week.